All right, good Saturday evening, everyone. I'm Fox 19 now, First Alert Meteorologist Brad Maushart with another winter storm update. No many changes here the last hour or half hour or so since we last chatted. Just a quick reminder here towards the top, this is going to be a shortened, kind of abbreviated cut-in, just to give you a little quick update on what we're seeing and how things are going to change here the next few hours. Coming up in 1 hour, 6:30. We typically do on Saturday evenings if you're watching, right? On Saturday evenings, we usually do our streams at 6 o'clock anyway. So it's going to happen at 6:30, but since, it's when we typically do our stream anyway, when some people are maybe more used to seeing us, I'm going to go ahead and make that one a longer one where we're going to dive into comments, answer questions, and so on. So, Michael, congratulations to you on being the first comment. All right, if you've been out and about the last hour or so, you've seen a few flakes start to fly out there. We have a light little dusting here at the station. It's really fine snow, more so because it's so cold outside. So it changes how the flakes kind of fly out there. So we're seeing a very fine, almost like a light sand almost is what it feels like outside, very granule. And that's starting to fly right now as the air becomes saturated. We'll talk about temperatures, currents, everything coming up. But this is just the start. I want to reiterate that. I've had people already asking me on Facebook, even my own friends, where's the snow? Look, it's coming, right? It's just the start. That's where you are. That's the front of the storm just now starting to move through, and that's how much of the storm we have to get through. And you note all the dark blue over here. That dark blue indicates much higher snowfall rates. And that is what we have to look forward to, or not look forward to, tomorrow. And that's how we're eventually going to get to double digits in a lot of spots when it comes to snowfall totals. So a lot of storm to get through. It's just now ramping up. By midnight tonight, about 1 to 3 inches. Tomorrow afternoon, eventually we're going to end up with about 10 to 16. So quite a bit coming down. So the dark blue, again, if you're just tuning in or you're wondering why I was pointing at it, that's just indicating more intense snowfall. Just like in a thunderstorm, sometimes we talk about the reds, the yellows, and so on being heavier rain. It's just heftier amounts of snow. Bruce, luckily I got my fill earlier. So here's what we're dealing with. Snow is falling across much of the tri-state. If you haven't seen a whole lot, that's expected. Again, 1 to 3 inches by midnight in most spots. Don't expect a whole lot, but if you go to bed and you're saying, they blew it again, look, you're going to wake up, and I think it's going to be a little bit of a surprise for you because by tomorrow morning, this is how quick things are going to turn around. Tomorrow morning, we're going to see over 5 inches, area-wide, some spots almost double that. And it's going to continue to build. And by the time we hit late Sunday evening, 10 to 16 on the ground. So let's go ahead and take you around the area here. We'll show you some of these cameras across the tri-state of some of the flakes starting to fly outside. Let's start off with, let's go to the middle camera here. We'll go to the light shining brightly from the new Cincinnati sign there. And every now and again you can pick up on a few flakes. Like I said, we have kind of this light, very fine dusting of snow. You can maybe see that a little bit on the roadway over there on the left. But nothing to cause any significant issues. Again, that's expected. You'll see a better chance for some flakes on some of these cameras here. And then you can see those a little bit better in some of the trees there, down in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. Again, not a ton of snow. It's very fine right now, but it is going to fill in pretty quickly. We're still getting the atmosphere saturated here across the area. We'll go to a couple more here. Here's the camera up in North College Hill, again showing you some of that very, very fine snowfall. Maybe if you squint here, you can see kind of that whitish outline there on the edge of the cart paths. That's some of that very fine snow just now starting to stick there in a few spots. And then finally, we'll head over here to Turfway Park, where it looks like it has been so cold that it looks like maybe the infield lake is frozen solid. And that's going to be something we're going to be seeing a lot of here the next couple of days and into the next week because we have bitter, bitter cold air on the way. That's the second part of this storm. So here's a look at the downtown camera, and it's getting tough to see downtown down there in the background. Thank goodness we have our new lighthouse basically of the Cincinnati sign glowing there in the distance to know exactly where we're at. That little light right there is Paycor Stadium. The video board on the outside, the northwest corner of the Paycor Stadium. Down here, just to get your bearings, is the Hall of Justice down there. We got the Union Terminal, and then TQL Stadium sits over here. This you can barely see is downtown. snow starts to filter on through, and you can see how things have changed. If you've been watching the last couple of times we tuned in, we've been talking about a lot of dry air that we've been dealing with. So dew points are in right now. Let me turn this off because I think somebody's walking in front of the wall. That's probably what we got going on. Dew points earlier were well below 0, right? That is very, very dry air. Dew point's a measure of moisture in the air. When it goes very low, it is very dry air. We have now went from, I think, about 9 below to 3 above. It's been a significant change the last few hours, and that's why the flakes are starting to fly. So we're a little bit delayed. Yeah, I mean, 1 to 4 was the arrival window. Technically, it was there. It was just a loft, but now we're saturating at the surface, and we're going to continue to see some of these flakes fly and become more intense through the rest of this evening. Let me make this a little bigger again so you can see it. And I know I'm not checking much in the comments right now. At 6:30, if you're just tuning in, that's where we're going to go a little bit more in depth and have a longer stream. I'm going to do this one a little quicker than the last few. We'll check on the comments again at 6:30. That way I can get to your questions, talk more about snow, because, again, it's kind of a slow burn between now and midnight, really through the overnight. So not a lot of new information coming in. So if you've been watching before, this is kind of the same stuff we've been saying. 1 to 3 on the ground by midnight tonight. Not a bunch, but we will have a few slick spots, so it's problematic if you live on a hill or something like that. Otherwise, not impossible. And thank you for the reports, too. I'll look more at these, I promise, as we work our way towards the 6 o'clock, the 6:30 stream. By tomorrow morning, this is how quick it's going to turn around. From 1 to 3, which is a nuisance, to 5 to 9, which is major snowstorm between midnight and 6 a.m. That's it. 5 to 9 inches. And then by the end of Sunday, we're going to tack on pretty much almost double that, 10 to 16 inches by the time it's all said and done. And unfortunately, it's not going to be going anywhere anytime soon, because that temperature right there of 16 degrees close to downtown is one of the warmer temperatures we're going to see out here. We don't get into the 20s again until a week from today. That's just 20 degrees. We don't get above the freezing point the next 10 days. So the snow that falls, it's going to be hard to get rid of outside of some sunshine. This is another indicator that we were watching earlier. Let me go ahead and see if I can stop this real quick. Earlier, we were watching the radar site over here in Wilmington, and we were kind of noting that there's no precipitation showing up or in a ring around the radar site. What we were talking about is that radar beam goes kind of up into the atmosphere, and so when you're close to the radar, it's going up for a while, and it's not seeing any snow here. The beam's a little closer to the surface, right? But the further you get away from that radar site going in any other direction, I know this is kind of a wonky drawing, but bear with me. The farther you get away, the higher up that beam goes in the atmosphere. So when we get out to places like Hamilton and Connorsville, that beam is going up higher and higher. Those snowflakes are higher in. They just haven't made it to the surface in a few spots. They haven't made it to the surface in the area immediately around the radar. Now look how that's changed. This was back at 4:30, just an hour ago. Look at how the air is becoming saturated. Now that snow is filling in even around the radar site. So air is becoming saturated. Snow will continue to fall. TJ is tuning in saying, I'm still very doubtful that we're going to see over 6 inches. TJ, you're going to be disappointed tomorrow morning. Look, if I wanted ratings, TJ, I would do this during the week. Why would I want to come in on a Saturday? So that's all right. The naysayers, and of course there are plenty because it's Facebook, you know, they don't want to go outside, touch grass and whatever. Look, you're going to be disappointed if you keep thinking that this isn't going to happen, because I'm telling you right now, it is already happening, and it's just the start. Snow's falling right now. We have the winter storm warning in place that runs through noon on Monday. Eventually that will fill in and turn pink, but either way. So that's there. We have also had something new issued earlier today, which is the extreme cold watch. Essentially what that means is we're going to see wind chill values Monday and Tuesday morning, when this is in effect, about 10 to 20 below zero. On top of that, it's already going to be below zero without even the wind chill. So brutal start to next week. And again, this just being the start, let's zoom out a little bit. I'll show you what we're dealing with. That snow stretches all the way from the tri-state into New Mexico and even northern portions of Mexico. It is a long duration snow event for us. This isn't just going to be 6 hours of snow. This is going to be like what, almost 36 hours of snow. So again, continue to doubt. I think you're going to be disappointed if you're hoping that maybe we only get a half inch out of this. It's not going to happen. I would hope that Northside hasn't had a drop yet because that would be rain. So I hope if you haven't seen a flake yet, it's coming. Don't worry. Snow continues through midnight tonight. Intensity picks up after midnight. Try to be where you need to be by midnight because as we roll through the overnight and into early Sunday morning, that's where it really will be a true, really high-impact winter storm. Off to the south, you see some pink showing up at the bottom of the screen. That's the sleet that's going to try to encroach into our southernmost communities tomorrow. That's little itty-bitty ice balls, ice pellets. It could kind of damper down or, kind of weigh down some of that snow, reduce some totals a bit, but the overall impacts are going to be the same. It doesn't matter if you see the sleet or the snow. It's still going to be a high-impact travel problem through the rest of Sunday. Sunday, by the afternoon and evening, that snow finally starts to let up a bit. And then we'll hang on to just a few light snow showers from there on out as we work away into early Monday. So by midnight, 1 to 3 inches. Tracy's talking about how Florence is getting that kind of like a misty, grainy snow. It's just so cold that we're used to seeing snowfall events here where we're always flirting with the freezing point. I said 1 to 4, Brian. Comprehension is hard. All right, so 1 to 4, 1 to 3 by midnight. Again, it's kind of we're so used to seeing snowfall here in the tri-state where we're close to the freezing point, so you get some of these big fat flakes or just big flakes in general. When you get really cold air, it changes how the snowflakes, turn into crystals. And sometimes you can get some of these like really fine, kind of sandy almost, like a light sand. It feels like sand outside. Snow. When we warm up a little bit tomorrow with that snow rolling in, we'll be back in the 20s. It's going to change how these flakes fall a little bit, and I think it'll be a little bit more packable for snowballs. So, with that said, 1 to 3 by midnight, not a ton, enough to be a nuisance, especially for those on hills, but through the overnight into 6 a.m. Sunday, significantly more, and then we keep on piling on through Sunday afternoon. This is what we're going for the forecast. At a minimum, 10 inches. Some spots, I think you're going to be really disappointed again if you don't think that it's going to happen. If you walk outside and it's halfway up your shin with 13 to 16 inches of snow. We could see some higher isolated amounts. A lot of these models are coming in hot with the snowfall totals, right? So this is my Cincinnati optimistic 13 to 16. Have I ever made a forecast in Cincinnati where it was 13 to 16? No, because my entire professional career, we haven't seen a snowstorm like this. Right? The last time we've seen a significant snowfall event like this was back in the 90s, 98 and 96. Before that, you have to go all the way back to 1917. This doesn't happen here very often. Don't forget to download the First Alert Weather app. Again, we'll be back later with a longer stream, but that's just a quick little plug for that. What does fall is going to be here for a while. The cold is really going to be hanging around as we work our way through next week. That's what it's going to feel like. At best, somewhere between 0 and 10 Tuesday afternoon. That's ahead of the arrival of our next snowstorm, which is Wednesday. Don't forget you can follow me on social media too. Easy to find. Just search for my last name there on Facebook, Twitter. I'm not on there all that much, or X or whatever you want to call it. And then call me Brad on Instagram. You can always get weather information and other bad jokes and photos there too. You can probably watch me fall down my driveway trying to clear it off tomorrow. All right. That'll do it for this one. We'll kind of try to do this again at 6:30. So I know the normal Saturday stream is at 6. We're going to be on air with that one. 6:30 we'll be back here, and I'm going to dive more into the comments against my better judgment. But I'll tune in anyway, and we'll see what you guys have to say. I'm sure everybody's upset that it didn't start at 1 o'clock. I'm sorry to disappoint. Wrong again. But I'm just telling you right now, this is not anywhere close to being over. It's just getting started, and we have over a day left of this, right? Over 24 hours. It's going to be almost 30 hours of fairly constant snowfall to get through. Big winter storm, high travel impacts, especially for the day tomorrow. We'll be back in just under an hour. We'll be back in 45 minutes at 6:30. And we are going to, I'm going to go a little bit more in depth on the comments and questions, and we can hop around a little bit more. We'll make that one the long one this evening until late tonight. And then, again, at the top of every hour, we're going to be on air on Fox 19. And then, of course, on the bottom of the hour at 5:30, 6:30, 7:30, we'll be on the digital channels like we are right now. Facebook, all kinds of social media and all that kind of stuff. So, Tune in again. We'll be back in about 45 minutes if you like. That way I'll be diving into some more comments at that point. If you're not seeing snow, you're probably lying because even though it might not be sticking all that well, you will be seeing flakes flying. And we should have that just about area-wide right now. It's not very intense, but it is coming down, right? So let's hop around. We'll get a few more camera views and show you some of the, you can see it there in the lights, just in the Cincinnati sign where it looks just kind of hazy. It's that very fine, powdery snow coming down. You can see some of the flakes, too, looking back at the other downtown camera. Getting a little harder to see. I'm going to have to pump up the brightness on that a little bit. But, that's what we're going to continue to see the next couple hours. Things really do ramp up overnight. You can see some of those flakes sticking to the cart paths over at the Clovernut Country Club. So we'll have another update here coming up in about 45 minutes, everybody. Thanks for tuning in.